Folks, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Morbid Message Monday happening on a Wednesday. I'm sorry for being late,
It'll be uploaded
I
on a
am
Friday,
really excited. Yeah, Jake is Jack now, chat. Yeah, yep. All right.
For those of you listening, I'm sick, so my voice is different. I am not a new person.
No, Matt is the same person. He just happens to be a sicker version of himself.
I'm the same idiot.
He's something, folks. He's something. But without any further ado, let's jump on in to the Phoenix Lights. Welcome to Morbid Message Monday with Matt and Jake. Now, on March 13th, 1997, in the early night, a string of lights appeared in the sky over Phoenix, Arizona. These were just strange lights that just literally appeared, right?
Mm.
Now, locals recall looking up and seeing a massive V formation hovering quietly in the night sky. Now, there are many theories behind what these were, ranging from anywhere from military exercise to literal aliens. But what we know is that we know nothing.
Basically, I mean, there's not a lot known about this, which is what's crazy about it, because it's still very much like talked about today. Like, a lot of people still have not forgotten about the Phoenix Lights, because it's such a weird phenomena that nobody ever explained and nobody ever owned up to.
There's no definitive proof of what the Phoenix Lights is/are. And that's something that's important to this story.
When this happened, you have to remember, like, people were still recording on like DV tapes and like even like regular like film.
Yeah.
So none of that was built for low light or anything that could remotely capture this shit.
No, God, no. What was this? 1997.
Right, 1997. So, like, nothing was around to capture in like high definition.
My dad probably had one of those handy cams he could run outside with.
Right.
You're not going to get anything good out of that. I mean, there is grainy footage out there that people have recorded. I mean, it was absolutely recorded. It's just anybody could. On this night, March 13th, allegedly over 700 people witnessed the lights. And calls started coming in from just south of Paulden, Arizona, 2 hours north of Phoenix. At the time, the National UFO Reporting Center was being hammered by calls from this area, each one claiming to see a large V formation of lights moving through the sky. As they received calls, they were able to see it was in fact moving through the sky towards Phoenix. Strangely enough, the people reporting these lights weren't just your average Joe. Many were actually military officials, police officers, and even pilots.
I think I think that's what's weird about it is like nobody was like there was such a weird mixture of people reporting it.
That's true. And like, there were so many people.
Right. I mean, you had like high-end government officials that are like, what the fuck is going on? Because like,
what the hell is this? Why was I not briefed?
These just popped up. These just showed up. Like, nobody knew what they were. Nobody was said anything. Nobody announced anything. Like, there were no military exercises that were announced.
Like, planned.
Right. You couldn't hear it. It wasn't making a sound.
With our government being the way that it is, obviously, people may not have known or something like that. But at the end of the day, it's too easy to kind of sweep under the rug as a military exercise or even as like weather balloons or whatever the case is.
Right.
I mean, obviously the theories are numerous and we'll never know for sure. Well, maybe we will one day. We could. In this lifetime, we may see the Phoenix Lights again. Now,
maybe.
It's just called the Burkey Lights, bro.
The Burkey Lights.
Everybody's just shooting at him. Anyway, at 6:55 on this night, one of the first reports came in. An unidentified man stated he saw a V-shaped object over Henderson, Nevada, claiming it to be about the size of a Boeing 747. Made sort of a rushing wind sound as it moved, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, alien sounds. Woo.
Well, like, it wasn't like a plane engine. It was just like, I guess like wind, like a wind sound. Like that's what they, yeah. I think your fucking gate is cutting that out. Yeah, that's still good. Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, so it was like this quiet, like air moving sound instead of like a plane engine.
Yeah, which is interesting. He noted that the V shape had about 6 lights on its leading edge. And it's interesting because this V shape is very important. Hashtag Jake wins sound. It's a B-52 with lights on for a Top Gun movie. Hell yeah, let's go.
That's what Tom Cruise
That's all
is
it
up
was. It was absolutely that. How did you know?
Yeah.
Damn it, you're spoiling it for everyone, Tex.
there.
Matt, we need a new topic.
I know. Let's just cancel this.
Let's write a whole new thing, dude.
Yeah. Fuck
Now,
it.
not too long after this, an unnamed police officer from Paulden, Arizona, called in at around 8:15 to report that as he was driving north, he had seen the same odd cluster of lights. Hold on. Okay. Same odd cluster of lights. Though similar, his report claimed to be 4 lights being trailed by a 5th light. He went home to get a better look with his binoculars, but when he finally got a hold of them, the object had actually disappeared into the horizon. Now, these 2 reports suggested that it was indeed moving south towards Phoenix, and though each report is slightly different, both consisted of a large unidentified object with multiple lights making its way south. To this day, this event holds the title of the most witnessed and most documented anomaly sightings in history. And that is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, this
weird.
was one of those occurrences that you cannot deny because so many people have seen it.
And it's like Roswell, like, Roswell, like we have festivals and all sorts of shit like dedicated, like celebrating the event itself. Phoenix is the same with the Phoenix Lights. Like they have a whole music festival for it.
Mm-hmm.
They have documentaries coming out for it. The news talks about it every single year on the anniversary. And then it's been 25 years since then.
It's
But,
true.
It's literally one of the most reported things. Like they said, the National UFO Center received something like 100,000 calls just
It's
about
some
it.
absurd amount. Well, and the other interesting thing is, I mean, we think of these other big occurrences. You got like stuff like Skinwalker Ranch. You've got stuff
Right.
like Roswell or Dulce or the Rendlesham Forest incident. But all of those are only documented by a few,
Right.
right? This was viewed and documented by several hundred people, civilians even. And I think that is kind of what makes the Phoenix Lights stand out on its own. Now, if you notice, I mean, the Phoenix Lights isn't this tale of an abduction. It's not the tale of being probed or whatever the case is.
Yeah, nothing about it is like
nefarious.
Yeah, nothing about it screams like, oh, this is clearly fake. Like it's just this very unexplained large scale event.
Absolutely. Like nobody's life was ruined by the Phoenix Lights. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, there's not some dude in the fucking.
There's not some dude dying on a hill.
Yeah, the local cafe.
Lights.
They stuck something up my bum. It's none of that.
Me. Oh, old. My name's old Cooter Jefferson. Dude, no, that's a bad one. Cooper Jefferson.
Old Cooter Jefferson.
Not a good thing.
That's the best thing you've ever said.
Well, I guess that's what I mean.
That's what I was gonna say, Tex.
I guess that's gonna have to stick. Old Cooter Jefferson down at the cafe, telling people about how he was probed.
I'll edit it out of the podcast, but that's going up on your shorts.
I think you can leave it in. That's all right. No, because this was all right. All right, let's get back to it. We don't have anything that big, one witness had said. It was totally silent. I've never seen anything even close to the colors from the exhaust that propelled that thing. It was as big as downtown Prescott and completely blocked out the stars. That's something that I was like, when I read that, I was like,
isn't it weird?
It blocked out the stars like Independence Day kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and like people are like, oh, it was just lights. But people who were actually like underneath the path of this thing said that they could not see through to the sky. They couldn't see the stars. So like you had this big, like some people say it was shaped like a boomerang. Some people say it was shaped like a giant like triangle, like a solid triangle. But like nobody really definitively like can explain what it looked like. But the whole concept was it was big enough to block the sky out.
And that is, I mean, again, if you'll notice too, I mean, it goes from the size of being a 747 in Nevada to blocking out the stars,
which could have meant
Arizona.
it was higher up and then coming lower down. Like, yeah, nobody really knows.
It could have also been going off of the elevation. I mean, let's see, elevation.
That's true because I think Nevada's higher than the Phoenix?
1,867 feet. Now, elevation, Halden, AZ. Yeah, dude, it's the elevation.
Is that what it was?
It's interesting. Okay, so Halden, Arizona is about 3,400 feet higher than Henderson, Nevada.
So it was just,
so it's literally, it was just something that was not, it wasn't, it was staying a steady course.
Yeah, so it was at the same height. It was just closer. That's interesting.
Yeah, if that thing wasn't paying attention, it would run into a mountain.
Right.
It's very interesting. So it was probably just hovering right above, right over.
Right.
I mean, if it was nefarious, it could have been like a mass abduction.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
Which I think is interesting.
Right.
So what exactly were the people seeing? What object was so large that it could block out the night sky? Well, most reports consisted of the same information. A large array of lights in a triangular formation. Many said it was like a giant arrow that slowly lined its way through the sky. But all accounts pointed to the strange symmetry of the lights, and only the lights. Hence the name the Phoenix Lights. Nobody could get a good idea of what this craft looks like.
Well, and again,
because I mean, it went over.
Yeah, you have to go off of witness statements, because there was no photographic evidence that was going to show this was an actual object. All you could see was the light.
Absolutely. So, not even old Cooter Jefferson could get a good view of this one.
No, he couldn't see it, man.
And he was
inside of it.
Picked up. He was. It was inside of him. But
good old CJ.
CJ.
Oh fuck yeah, that's great.
Oh man.
But I think it's crazy because again, the most mass reported incident, and yet nobody really understands what it was or what it looked like.
And may never.
Yeah. No, I mean, probably never will. This has been
obviously gone over ad nauseum by several different. I mean, MUFON, which is the Mutual UFO Network Coalition, whatever, has gone over this again ad nauseum, and they don't have anything but it's a fucking UFO.
Right. Well, and a lot of people say that it's been disproved. But if you read the people who disproved it, they're like,
it's not.
It's the same bullshit. It's it's a military exercise. It was a cluster of airplanes. It's but it wasn't making sound.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing, right?
Right.
Oh, it's just a military craft that is completely silent.
Right. Well, and then there's another theory that it was a bunch of flares that were exhausted from an A-10 Warthog.
But that doesn't make sense either.
That doesn't move 200 miles.
No. Well, and then the other thing too is okay, when we're looking at these kind of things, I mean, some people said it blocked out the night sky. Some people said they could see through it. That was one thing that I was reading too, is people said that it was almost like not opaque, but a grayish color that you could see the skies through. You know what I mean?
So some people claimed it was almost
translucent in a way.
Yeah, like a translucent.
Opaque. Is it opaque? Is that the word? I don't know.
I think that would be opaque.
It's a fancy
word. Kind of see through it. Yeah, we don't use words like that here.
Yeah, you could kind of see through it.
Interesting.
Now, all in all, not much is known what happened that night. Not much of exactly what happened is known. Because the technology of the time, no one really had a lot of good video evidence of the phenomena, and most of the information is hearsay. But some people believe it was nothing more than a group of planes practicing maneuvers at night for 200 plus miles. You see where we're going here. Silently.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's all the explanations didn't make any sense. It just did not make any sense.
No, none of the explanations do.
Right. You hear airplanes, and yes, I know there's subsonic planes and shit like that we probably will never get to see because they're top secret classified. But
top secret, yeah, absolutely.
Back then, to believe that was totally possible and doable, and that it wasn't done above a place like Area 51, and they were just flying over a city for the fuck of it without telling anybody, I don't think so.
Area 51's not a real place, just so you know.
Yeah, it's fake.
It's all fake. Don't worry, folks.
There are no tunnels.
You heard it here first. Now, one such theorist claims that a young man with a 10-inch Dobsonian telescope.
I had to look that up. I didn't know what it was, but it's basically a giant telescope. It's a giant mirror telescope that sits on the ground, and it's a giant tube. And so instead of like your standard telescope, which is like a normal cylinder, this one is huge and open on all sides, but it has a focusing lens on the top of it.
Interesting.
And so basically you aim it and then you use the focusing lens to like refine what you're looking at. And they're really cool. They're super cheap apparently. But like I saw that and I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is.
I don't know, dude. Remember watching about this on TV? Someone had a recording about it. Ooh, that's pretty neat. Yeah, there's a lot of great news.
There's like
news sites and articles.
5 like solid videos of this that get used over and over again.
Yes.
But beyond that, there's nothing.
Mainly a bunch of people go, wow, it was amazing. What did I see in the sky?
Right. It was the aliens, man.
And it was the aliens, man. Just those damn aliens. Even though this is in
Right.
Arizona where no one actually talks like that. I don't even know what they talk like in Arizona. Is there an Arizonian accent? What is that?
I don't think so. Most of the people I met from Arizona talk like we do.
Okay. So, I mean, we have an accent apparently.
Apparently, some people say we do.
It's interesting. Accents are weird. Let's do that another day. Anyway, now, he went on to state he tried to constantly contact officials who were, quote unquote, making noise about the event in order to quell fears of an alien invasion. But he was constantly shot down and turned away as insane. Later, people were starting to agree with the idea that these lights were simply flares launched by said aircraft. Wait, what the hell? Did I miss it?
You skipped over a little bit, but that's okay. I can fill it.
Okay. Well, yeah, the B-10 Warthog is what you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, well, obviously one of the theories was that these were flares. Mm-hmm. Later on down the line, people started to agree with the idea that these were flares launched by an aircraft, and the fact that they faded away is enough proof to prove the event was not remotely extraterrestrial, which makes no sense at all.
Well, and Telescope Boy decided to come out and say, well, you know what? It was just 2 planes flying together really closely. But like, if you look at a light far away, that's that fucking bright. If you've got 2 planes, you're going to see 2 planes.
Yes.
Not one giant orb that's pulsing on and off.
No, you won't. You're not going to see that. And
Right.
it's interesting because like he claims it's 2 planes, but everybody is seeing at the minimum 5 lights.
Right. There were 5 lights. So he's saying
5 or 6 even.
What would that be? Like a total of 10 planes moving in unison at the same time?
All
for
together.
200 miles
Yeah,
at the same speed. Granted, they said it was moving at like 400 miles an hour, which is like a calculated movement speed, but I still don't buy that.
No, and people at this point are just like, hey, you know what? They're not extraterrestrial. We don't have to worry about the aliens. We're all good.
Yeah, we're good.
We're hanging out. It's not a big deal.
We just need something to make us feel better.
But here lies the problem. The military said literally nothing. They didn't come out and say, oh, by the way, it was a training exercise. No need to panic. They didn't admit whether they were actually running training ops that night. And they never commented on the event itself. Some say this is because the event was a classified training event and they would never do so. And I think that that's a cop-out.
I think it is too, because why would you do that over
Phoenix, Arizona?
many populated cities? Like it wasn't just one populated city.
That's true. Yeah.
Like why you would do a secret operation and have
Over
it
several
so
cities.
visible. Like it doesn't make sense. Like that whole concept doesn't make sense, because like the reality is you don't normally hear about shit like that until years later.
And then that's true. You really don't.
Like you don't see evidence of it everywhere and I wonder if they did something. Like it's a cop out. Like you said, it's a cop out.
It's a total cop-out. There's there's no getting around that.
No.
Now, interestingly enough, and this source may or may not be credible, a video released in 2014 by journalist David Collins on YouTube appeared to show military aircraft investigating an unknown aircraft over Phoenix that same night. Unfortunately, this video seems to be long gone if it ever truly existed in the first place. This event also happened during a supposed resurfacing event of the lights, where in 2008, people claimed they saw the lights once again. The only difference this time is the lights would change orientation from triangular to square shapes. This video and report was denied by the U.S. Air Force at the time. They stated they had no active exercises in the area. Later, reports stated a man was attaching flares to weather balloons and releasing them from his backyard. But even then,
I also don't believe that.
yeah, I don't believe that either. How is he going to make them go from triangular to like square
Right.
shape?
Like, I mean,
It doesn't
I
make
understand
sense.
like shit would move around, but there's no way in hell you're going to release like weather balloons that are going to stay in the same position for that long.
No, you really don't. It makes no sense.
And I saw screen captures from the supposed video, and like it did show that they were investigating something, but like it was too, again, like old technology, even in 2008, like it was too hard to make out what it was. But there's
Yeah,
no real evidence of this video, so like it could have been some sort of weird hoax, but it could have been resurfacing. We really don't know because there wasn't a lot of information about this. But apparently it was like a declassified video.
really
Yeah, it was one of the
interesting.
ones that was released in 2014, I think, under Obama.
Okay, all right.
So, because they released a bunch of UFO shit, he was leaving.
Oh well, there's the disclosure that happened not too long
Right.
ago,
Yeah,
or I think that's what
there's
it's
that
called.
too.
When the CIA when the Navy declassified all their alien
All
documents.
their,
You can go
yeah,
look at all of it.
their stuff. Yeah,
It's
all out
interesting
there.
how no one seemed to care when that happened. I feel like
Yeah, well,
that's like a
I think
big thing.
I think they were trying to distract people from something, and it didn't work.
Well, I think the other thing though is like people were distracted from looking at this alien shit. And it's
Right.
interesting because you can go back, you can look at everything they've ever seen.
They were like, "All right, here's a good time. They're distracted. Go."
Yeah, go. Let's just drop it real quietly, and then everybody can now go look. And it's not even a joke.
It's there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a bunch of shit we could find in there that I'm like super down to look into. Oh, and we're actually still in talks with someone we know who will not be named about doing a series on not the CIA in general, but the stuff about like astral projection and all that shit and like all the declassified documents. Dude,
Yeah.
let's freaking go. Now,
Awesome.
a lot of the paranoia around the event is also heavily blamed on the media attention at the time, sending people into panic by stating things like unexplained phenomena and giant UFO flying over Arizona. Now, while I can see the logic behind a lot of these claims, I can't help but wonder if there's more to the story. The event itself is still very much unexplained. Many still claim it's all hoax or just a military exercise. But truth be told, no one can explain a giant arrow-shaped object that blocked out the stars. I mean, and that's true. Any sort of...
How do you explain that? Like, we don't have anything that big. Like, the biggest airplane in the world still isn't that big.
Exactly.
And if that's what people are claiming they saw, and like you had so many people claiming they saw it, like this wasn't like it wasn't initially like a mass televised event because again, back then, like we didn't have like instantaneous news.
No.
And so
well, and the interesting thing is we didn't have the flying technology we have now either.
Right. Well, and you have hundreds upon thousands of people calling in to report this thing, all saying the same shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, in that day and age, to coordinate something like that would be damn near impossible because that's a lot of people. Yeah. And then, like, their stories were all so close and similar that, like, basically you're just chalking up to, well, they're just explaining it a little bit differently, but, like, they all saw the same shit. Like,
well, and that's just the cop out of it all, right?
Right. Well, even Hindenburg wasn't that big. Like, it wasn't big enough, and it wasn't V-shaped, but...
No.
If you ever, it's interesting too because if you look at like a lot of the artist renditions of the Phoenix Lights aircraft or ship, it's very blimpish. It's kind of
blimpish, but it's like this.
Yeah, well, it's V-shaped, but it's always like kind of depicted as like a weird blimp.
It's interesting,
but it's also a sharp blimp. It's very weird. It's very interesting. And then you have the total different ones that are like a whole fucking triangle that make no sense because it doesn't match anything that people said that they saw because it has like 30,000 lights on the side of it.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because like, you know, now you could explain this all away. Oh, a group of people got their drones together and decided to attach lights to them and fly them around. I mean, that's literally all it takes.
Like right nowadays, like you can really freak people out with that.
Well, dude, we did get freaked out. I mean, it was, I think, the 4th of July and Anna, Johnny, and I were driving, and we just saw like these lights in the sky.
Yeah.
And they were just going crazy, and we're like, "Oh my god! Like, what's happening?" Like, you know, we want to believe, right? So,
yeah,
we were looking into it, and then we talked to Anna's brother, who
Right.
said, yeah, that's something that they were doing at the Balloon Fiesta Park.
Right.
Is they had all
That's
these
true. They did
drone
have the drones.
operators.
Yep.
They had all these drone operators doing things, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a bummer. I got
Yeah.
all
No.
excited, you know.
You're like, fuck, aliens.
I was like,
Well,
come
and
on,
that's like,
the
and
aliens.
that's why I wanted to read this one because, like, it's one of those things. Like, you talk about the flare explanation. Like, if you've ever watched a flare, it kind of like pulses as it's
Mhm.
going down, as it's going
Yeah.
out, and it also kind of follows like a curving arc. So, like, I don't believe in that at all.
No,
But
not even a little.
when I had first started dating my fiance, we drove up to Las Cruces to do like a book signing or some shit like that. And on the way back, we were driving home, and it was probably about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and we were cresting the hill up by Journal Pavilion. Which, if you know Albuquerque, you kind of crest the hill. Journal Pavilion's off to the left, along with like Netflix Now Studios.
Netflix Studios.
Yeah, and then you can see the city. Well, we were looking off to the right towards the studios, and above the canyon there were four lights that were just hovering in the sky. And this was kind of before like drones were really popular. Like they still weren't really a thing. And so we just kind of drove by, and we were watching these lights just hovering up there, and we were like, what the hell are those? And so we kept going. Anyway, so we're driving by, we turn around, lights were just gone.
Yeah.
Like they just disappeared and they
Vanished.
were gone. And like to this day, like that's one of those, like I do feel like I saw something that wasn't like, because it wasn't near the airport. It wasn't like anything crazy. Like there was nothing going on in that area. So like it's just one of those things that like I can't necessarily blame people for being like, what the fuck was that? Like that freaked me the hell out.
No, I
Because like
mean, dude, when
we
you have
couldn't figure it
something,
out.
when you have
Right.
something that's unexplainable, that's what makes it so terrifying in the first place. You can't fucking
Right.
explain it. And that's, I completely get that. I've not yet really seen anything that I would consider maybe truly
That's the only thing I've ever seen.
extraterrestrial.
Yeah, that's the only thing I've ever seen that I've considered extraterrestrial.
But I think that there's certainly,
Aside from my
the
nightmares.
time is coming. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I 100% could see that. I mean, like, especially with all the stuff that I've read about or listened to or whatever the case is when it comes to aliens, it's like,
Right.
I mean, it's just illogical to think that they would never happen.
Uh-huh. Basically.
Now, the event itself is why we're so curious about the Phoenix Lights. Because Matt's seen what he could consider like the closest possible thing to this.
That's the
Phoenix
closest thing I
Lights.
could like explain as to what people saw.
Yeah, and I think Matt is a believe it when he sees it kind of person.
Oh, very much so.
I am much more open to the idea, and I think that we'll never see everything. So,
Like, look, do I want to be like walking outside and seeing like a 12-foot gray alien walk past me? No, I don't want to fucking
No.
see that because I'll probably die on the spot. But like, like it's just one of those things. Like, I don't want to see it, but like if I do see it, I'm probably gonna believe it because Jesus Christ, I didn't believe in orbs until I saw one.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I mean, there's more. I think that ghosts and all that kind of stuff have more evidence that is plain as day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, right.
Because I feel like alien or extraterrestrial, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
has a certain appeal to a certain person, if that makes any sense at all.
Right.
But it's also easy for them to cover everything up.
Right.
And it's the same thing goes with like Austin 3CRs here is saying like demons and
Right.
all that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, those demons in general, like for me or what I would say are the least likely for me. I think
Oh, yeah.
that
Oh, I believe I'd see it.
they're more
Like ghosts,
personified in
ghosts.
different ways. Like ghosts,
Well,
for instance, could be demons. Or
Yeah, demons are
poltergeists or
seen
whatever.
as like a fear, and they're described as like the most like horrendous version of that fear.
Yeah,
Do I
absolutely.
think hell is going to crack open and demons are going to crawl out? No. But like,
Yeah.
do I believe a ghost could exist that is angry and like hell bent on terrorizing people? Yeah, I do believe it's possible.
Oh, dude, absolutely. I mean,
Right.
you know, like I said, I feel like it's more likely to see a ghost than it'll ever be to see an alien or an extraterrestrial. And that's by design. I mean,
Maybe.
if you think about the chaotic nature of the paranormal, right, like ghosts in general are going to be something that are easier to spot than an alien that doesn't want you to see it.
True.
I mean, you got to think about it. You know, the government doesn't even want you to see extraterrestrials. Why the fuck would they want you to see them?
Yeah.
You know what I
very
mean?
true.
They see us as just primitive creatures that they don't need to deal with. They're
I
just
don't
interested.
honestly ever want to see one if they do exist. I really don't.
You don't want to see an alien.
No, I don't.
You don't want to see like a gray or like
No, I don't. There's something about grays that is so disgustingly unnerving that I just never ever want to see one in my life. Because if I do, and I do have my gun on me, it's going to be in pieces by the time I'm done with it.
you're going to try. That's not going to work. See, that's the thing, right? We have this weird notion that like our weaponry would work on
I will
aliens.
shoot the fuck out of that thing before I go down.
You sound so American right now. I have my gun on me, and I'm going to shoot that motherfucker before he gets to me or my pups.
That's the American
You know
in
what I
me.
mean?
If I see some fucking gray alien walking towards me out of the bush, it's going down.
Yeah, you just shoot it right away.
It'll kill
I
me,
mean-
but at least I'll go down trying.
If Mars Attacks has taught us anything, it's don't be nice to them.
See, that's okay because those are like funny, freaky looking aliens. But if they're gray and they just come,
Hack.
if they just come like waddling out of their ship, all fucking mysterious,
Valid.
Nuke
Valid
town.
points. All nuke town. I don't think you need to be bringing out the nuclear weaponry.
That's what time it is. There's just no saving it at that point.
Now,
Once it gets dark, no, we're done.
nope, it's over. We know kind of what happened now. We have an idea of what the Phoenix Lights are. We've gotten through the theories. We have a little bit of what I would call a good grasp on what little there is to know.
Right.
Now, to end our episode on the Phoenix Lights, I just have to talk about how much effort was gone through to sweep the whole thing under the rug.
It's weird, isn't
by
it?
the government.
It's weird how much they did.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's very strange. Now, it's interesting because the governor at the time, Symington, I didn't write his first name,
Right.
went to great lengths to kind of make a mockery of the entire thing. Going so far as to bring someone out in a gray alien style costume. There are actually pictures of the event. It's kind of depressing, but also kind of fun.
It's Arizona.
perfectly
It
honest.
shouldn't be necessarily too surprising that
It's
they
not.
did something like that.
Not surprising. That's for sure.
Right.
Now, he did this press conference in June of 97. So, months and months after. So like plenty of time to go over like what they're going to say. What are they going to cover up? What's real? What's fake?
Right.
All that sort of jazz. Now,
Right. Nobody came out. That's the thing. Nobody came out instantly and was like, no, this is what it was.
and
No one official.
he full on dismissed the alien theory. He said, everyone was just too serious. You're all being so serious about this whole alien conundrum.
Right.
And of course, he's met with laughter and he's met with applause, and people are so stoked on this governor, like, because he did it.
Yeah.
Now,
Called it.
this is where the story should end, especially if you're Governor Symington, correct? I mean, like, shit. You've gone out of your way to kind of make a mockery of all this.
Right.
But in 2007, Symington came out in several interviews and said he himself believed that the extraterrestrials were real, and he only condensed it down to a joke in an attempt to stop mass hysteria.
Okay.
And that's where we will leave you on the Phoenix Lights.
I feel like he's a liar.
I feel like he was a liar. I feel like he's
It's
not
just,
now.
well, he's probably dead now, but
But I just got here.
2000 stuff. You did just get here, but
Queen
that's
City
okay.
Q, don't worry. We're going to be around for a little while longer at the very least. Probably play some Dying Light 2 or something.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. It's just it's just one of those things that like it's still so talked about today. Nobody accepts the down talk about it. Like nobody
No.
wants to believe that it was fake because it seemed so real. It felt so real. And it was reported by so many people as like a real event that happened. So it's just like it's crazy.
Well, and there's so much to really unpack about this. Hold on. I found a great article And it was from All That's Interesting. Oh, yes. So there's a lot of claims about how the government couldn't intervene because of Project Blue Book. Are you familiar with that?
No.
All right. Well, we're not going to get into that. We'll save that for an entire other episode because Project Blue Book, now that's an interesting one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It'll be a good
No,
one.
I mean,
It'll be a good follow-up.
Well, it's what happened essentially in response to the Roswell incident.
Oh, right. Okay. Gotcha. Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. Well,
So, folks,
is it on the Phoenix Lights?
that's the Phoenix Lights
It
for you.
feels weird leaving it on like a thread like that, but
I mean, that's what it is, right? I mean, we got nothing else.
there's still no explanation for it, which is what's creepy.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
like Roswell, we at least have like some solid evidence, like stuff that still happened and still comes out, but like this just happened and like everyone can't forget about it.
Well, no.
Yeah.
Well, and the interesting thing is we don't even have any sort of definitive proof of any of this.
Right. We just have 5 videos that were recorded on shit cams. So it's an interesting event that I thought would be cool to talk about. And it was cool to talk about.
Yep. Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, again, folks, this is where we leave you. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us for another episode of Morbid Message Monday, even when we recorded it on a Wednesday and we released it on Thursday. It's not the first time. But
or Friday.
Or maybe Friday. No, we should, if you can, we should get out.
I don't know if I'll be able to, but I'll try.
Just throw it out there. If you can, that'd be ideal.
I will try.
But folks, if you don't have any questions, I would like to say thank you as always for joining us for another episode of Morbid Message Monday. Don't forget to follow us on all the things, YouTube, podcasts, wherever you listen. We're on
Spotify.
Facebook, I think, Spotify.
I don't even know what we're on anymore. Anchor's
Twitter. I mean,
so
there's lots of things. Not that text.
Basically, if you manage to find a thing that we're not on, let us know.
We'll
be on it.
We'll be there. Yeah, that's really what it is.
No text.
Yeah, ! Socials if you're here live. And if you would like to watch this live, make sure you tune in to twitch.tv/tech_mess every Monday, 9 p.m. MST. But that is where we will leave you. Thank you as always. I hope you have a great day, night, evening, whatever it happens to be that you're having, kindly viewer, and well.
Goodbye. Sorry, I was sending a message.
You almost got me.
I almost missed it, but I didn't.